It's November 9th, 2021, and tomorrow will be November 10th, which marks the 2-month anniversary of the release of NBA 2K22. So tomorrow we will have officially been able to play NBA 2K22 for an entire 60 days of getting on and being able to form our own opinions about NBA 2K22. And I think a 2-month time span is a pretty good representation for people to be able to actually get a accurate opinion on how they feel about the game. Now, obviously, there's going to be people who simply play a game and think it's terrible right off rip, but I think 2 months is a fair assessment for people to actually give the game a chance. So with the 2 months going on, I think it's fair to say that most people have made their minds up about NBA 2K22. Now, before I jump into this video and we get into all of the details and things like that, I just want to make this very clear. I personally, in my own personal opinion, do not think NBA 2K22 is a terrible game. I don't think it's the worst 2K ever made. I definitely think it's been one of the better 2Ks they have made since the one you're watching on your screen, which is NBA 2K19. But I don't think NBA 2K22 is a terrible game. People think that I just think every 2K sucks. I don't think NBA 2K22 is a terrible game. Obviously, there are things that need to be changed, but that's the same thing with literally every single video game that comes out. Well, now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room that every single person who plays 2K, or not every single person that plays 2K, I should say, that everyone that's really involved in the social media or the community of 2K is talking about, and that is the current state of NBA 2K22 and the fact that people feel that NBA 2K22 has reached its peak and it is now steadily declining, and it is looking very, very bad for NBA 2K22, especially this early on in the game's life cycle. Like I mentioned, it has only been 2 months, and for me personally, it feels like the game has been out for like 6-7 months, and a lot of people are worried about this. I see this on YouTube, I see streamers talking about it, I see it all over Twitter. It's basically the same conversation every single day when people are talking about NBA 2K22 and the fact that it is quote unquote dying. Now, there's a lot of things that go into this, and a lot of people have their own reasoning and own opinions on why they think 2K22 is doing so poorly in terms of the community involvement, but there are some reasons that I listed here. Now, this isn't going to be in order. It's not going to be a crazily structured video. I'm just going to go ahead, bring up some points, talk about it briefly, and then you guys can feel free to let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Now, the first thing that I noticed, and a lot of people haven't really mentioned this to me, is the fact of the pandemic. Now, the pandemic allowed for a lot of people on the internet, content creators especially, streamers, YouTubers, their viewership went up a lot for a lot of these people. So when that happened, that was due to the fact that people were stuck in their house. Because if you think about it, we lost over a year of our own time to be out and go out and just do things and go out in the real world. So we were stuck in the house, and that gave people a lot more time to watch streamers, watch YouTubers, and actually play the game, which is 2K in this situation, but really just sit there in their house and do things they normally wouldn't be able to do. Because the majority of people who play 2K, they probably have lives, they have jobs, they have families, they have things they have to take care of. And with the pandemic, I'm not saying the pandemic is over or anything like that, but the pandemic is definitely in the decline, well, at least for me over here in Canada, to the point where we can actually go out and go to the gym, you can go to the movies, you can go out and have a couple of drinks with your friends. So people are no longer stuck in the house, therefore people aren't necessarily as invested as they were before the pandemic. And I think a game that really thrived off the pandemic, I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it was NBA 2K20. But the fact of the pandemic isn't as intense as it was originally definitely plays a big part in the reason why the community is not as invested into the game. At the end of the day, people are going to go outside now that they were locked up in their house. They're not going to sit around and play video games all day. The next thing I want to say is actually a big topic that a lot of people talk about, and that's the introduction of the seasons. Now, majority of this video is going to be around my career in Park. I don't really touch my team too much, but the seasons were introduced in NBA 2K22, and basically what it is, you guys all know what it is, but you reach 40, level 40, 4 times, and to reach level 40, you can actually do it within like the first day. You can get level 40 within the first day, so then people who are big grinders of the game will go ahead and reach level 40 the first day of the game or day of the season, and then they will not touch the game for the rest of the year. A lot of people do that, and even if you don't reach it in the first day, you can reach it within the first 2 weeks, which isn't even that hard to do. And then if you reach it within the first 2 weeks, people just stop playing the game, because after level 40 there really isn't much else to do except for wait for the next season. So therefore a lot of people reach the max level and then they don't play. Now some people have problems with this because people are like, oh, it takes away from the legend race, which I kind of agree with to a certain extent. But then there's other people who are like, okay, I don't have time to play the game every single day for like 18 hours a day. I can actually finally hit legend now. Level 40 kind of catering to people who weren't playing the game every day. It made it super easy for like the grinders of 2K, which majority of why people played NBA 2K throughout the years was a lot of it was grinding. A lot of people tried to go for that top rep, but this year it's easier for people who don't play the game every day, which I definitely understand because people don't have time. People have lives, they have jobs, they have things they have to take care of. So they're actually able to get legend this year. Even if you only play like 4 or 5 hours a day for the entire season, you actually are able to potentially get legend as opposed to other years where it was completely impossible. But then on the other hand, it kind of takes away from people who really enjoy the grind of the game and the people who want to be the first people to hit legend. Because I'm not going to lie, the legend race was always entertaining to watch every single year. It was very entertaining to see Orlando and Chicago hit top rep in 2K17 and all these other people throughout the years. But now this year, people really just don't care about it anymore because with level 40, you can get it in the first day of the game and then just stop playing. There isn't really an incentive for the grinders to actually play the game. Now, people are going to feel the way that they want to feel about that. I agree on both parts, but that is also a big part of the reason why people aren't really as invested in 2K in terms of the my career or the my park aspect. And the next thing I want to say, which is a very, very important part, is that the game is splitting up the community. There are people who think current gen is better, and there are people who think next gen is better. I don't know why this is always a debate when 2K, I don't even remember the last time 2K introduced, I think it was 2K21 that 2K introduced current gen and next gen games because that's when the consoles came out, whatever. But this has been a problem since last year. The games are separating the community based on who wants to play current gen and who wants to play next gen. And content creators, in terms of viewership, they're going to stay on current gen. And there's nobody surprised. The reason why is because next gen consoles, especially PS5s, are extremely hard to get. So therefore, people are torn between which console they want to play on, and it divides the community up, and it really affects a lot of people's viewership when it comes to current gen and next gen. And then on top of that, there are streamers who are choosing to go to current gen, next gen, whatever, and then some of those streamers and some of those content creators this year for NBA 2K22 have either, one, just stopped uploading the game, or two, completely quit. I know I mentioned this guy's name a lot, but Ticino streamed the game for a little bit at the beginning of the year. Now he hasn't streamed the game in a very, very long time. He hasn't uploaded in like months. I don't know how long he hasn't uploaded for, but that's one of the biggest names in the community. And on top of that, other people aren't really uploading. Not saying that there hasn't been people who have had success with NBA 2K22, but people seem to be kind of drifting away, and content creators aren't really playing it as much, and they're not uploading it as much. So the hype for the game from the popular content creators not doing that is also steadily decreasing the interest in the game. On top of that, there is another point that I think is probably the most important one out of them all, that I didn't even think it was the most important, is the fact that every single person this year in NBA 2K22, they practically play the exact same. And to be honest with you, I don't really blame them, because the cost of how much it is to make a build, especially on next gen, I don't blame people for going on YouTube and looking up, oh, what's the best guard build? And then when they look up what's the best guard build, it's the same undersized playmaking shot creator that does the same thing as every other person. I'm not gonna lie, I made a playmaking shot creator too. Now, I made it before all of the videos came out and things like that. But if I was a person who was like, okay, what's the best guard build? And I looked it up and I saw this dude running left and right and doing the same dribble move and greening every shot, I would want to make that build too, because it looks like it's very, very easy to do. And on top of that, if you go and look at all of the competitive 2K players, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if you go look at all the competitive 2K players, the stage players, every single guard plays the exact same way. The only difference is who greens more shots than the other. There is no difference in anybody's play style this year. Everybody who is considered a competitive point guard, 98% of those players are undersized playmaking shot creators, and there's really nothing wrong with that because that gives the people the best advantage to be able to win the game that they are playing. So you play the game and you run into the same builds for 2 hours straight. Eventually it's just like, okay, this isn't fun anymore. Even if you win or lose, it's just straight up not fun to some people, and people feel like there's no originality. People aren't actually making their own builds. They're simply just going on YouTube and looking up the builds of what their favorite streamers or favorite YouTubers make, and there's just no originality. It's the same thing you play every single day. And the last point I want to make, which there's probably a lot more points, and you guys can put them in the comment section below because I'm very curious to hear you guys' opinions on this. The next point I want to make, which is kind of like, it's more like I think a realization for a lot of us who are doing YouTube and a lot of us who have been playing 2K for a long time, is the fact that maybe there isn't anything wrong with 2K22. Maybe the community is fine. Maybe everything's okay. Maybe we're just simply growing up and maybe we're growing out of 2K. That happens with basically everything in life. You reach a certain point where you grow up and you no longer enjoy certain things. And 2K might be a big part of that because a lot of people who are in the community, a lot of people who are watching this video, have played NBA 2K15 all the way up until NBA 2K22, and if you think about it, it's the same repetitive thing every single year. So if you've played for 2K15 at 2000 or 2K22, you've been playing for like 7-8 years. I don't know, my math might be on there, but for a very long time. And you more than likely make the same build every year, you play the same way every year, you join the same affiliation every year. That eventually is gonna get boring, and maybe 2K isn't even bad. Maybe this NBA 2K22 is every little kid's 2K15. Maybe they're having that much fun with it, and maybe we're just old heads. I don't know. I'm in my 20s, so I'm definitely getting up there, but maybe we're just growing up, and maybe 2K just doesn't feel the same as it used to, and maybe there's nothing wrong with NBA 2K22. Maybe we're just too old, which is kind of like sad to say out loud, but you never know. Maybe people are enjoying this game that when we were 15, 16 years old, we felt the same way towards 2K15, 16, and 17, and things like that. I don't know. There's a lot of things that tie into the fact that NBA 2K22 is definitely not doing as well as people expected it to be. There is so much hype about NBA 2K22, and now it feels like almost nobody's talking about it and nobody's really playing it. But anyways, I'm very curious to hear your guys' opinions on this video. This is kind of just like basically a podcast talking about NBA 2K22, but I'm very curious to hear about your guys' opinions on this. If you guys want to drop them in the comment section below, I'm going to be reading all of them. And if you guys got to the end of this video and you're still listening, type the number 6. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.